4, 3, 2, 1. Are we live? Are we
We are
really?
live.
We
Live.
have
We're live.
all of these faces on here, and we are all live. Are we actually on live to what's that social media platform that we normally go on?
We are live on Facebook and we are live on Zoom.
Live on Facebook and live on
Zoom.
Zoom. So we have lots of Emily Barnhouses on the screen today, if you'll notice. Welcome, Emily Barnhouse.
Thank you.
All right, I'll stop. That was a lot of work, actually. You guys can
Social media platform that we normally go on.
Oh, I can hear
We have an exclusive relationship with MySpace.
Awesome, perfect. That way we'll get all the audience. So welcome to Coach's Corner, everybody. We have a large crowd today. Emily, Leah got together. Who else worked on the video that we put out? I know that everybody participated. Who else helped put that together? That was your doing?
Oh, Leah.
Oh, nice job, Leah. So
Thank
we
you.
found that little snippet video to bring people in here. And
You
we're
guys are
gonna,
all amazing actors.
yeah, that 3 seconds of acting worked out really well.
Morgan had less. Morgan had that 1 second. She made it shine.
She had like a backdrop and stuff in practice. So we've got lots of brains on here. We're going to wrap some brains around some challenges for a few minutes and see what we can come up with. We've got some questions that have been submitted earlier. And if you've got a question about something, be sure you put it into chat or put it into the Q&A box. And we'll take those and submit them live to all these beautiful people that are on this screen. So I'm going to start out with, let me just pick, if I had a hat and if I had them written down, I'd draw them out of a hat, but I don't have that to do. So I have a list. Think about this question for a second. Everybody got their thinking caps on? All right, awesome, here we go. What is the biggest, I feel like I'm like Pat Sajak or something. What is the biggest hurdle facing the ability for a business to scale over the next 3 to 5 years? What is the biggest hurdle facing the ability for a business to scale or grow over the next 3 to 5 years? So this is not like next week, end of the year. This is out into the future. What is the biggest hurdle? So if somebody has an answer to that particular question and potentially a solution to it, that'd be awesome. Anybody like to jump in? JT Petra Nashville.
Hey guys, I'll jump in there. Biggest hurdle to scale, not only in the next 3 years, but I think the biggest hurdle to scale forever has been and maybe forever will be is just the limited mindset of the people who are involved in the organization. You know, I think that one thing that particularly that we've talked about this, that COVID has done is it's kind of taken it's taken the safety net out from under people and said, okay, we have got to get radical. We've got to do something crazy to survive. And the second that they did that and they did survive, now it's opened up this window of opportunity to say, man, we just did a bunch of amazing stuff. We must be in the amazing stuff business. There's nothing we can't do. And I think that just getting over that mindset for a group like us, a group like any one of the member companies who I'm able to work with, people I haven't even met, it takes something like that to get them into the proper mindset of, hey, we can go do whatever we want. To build out the plan is just the details.
And so we've got, mindset is one thing. What else? What else are you seeing as hurdle out there? Let me go to Jennifer.
So I think a lot of it has to do with execution, right? Everybody's talking about what's our pivot, what's our strategy going to be? And those who execute faster over the next 3 to 5 years are the ones that are going to come out ahead.
Okay, so mindset and execution. Do you have some thoughts on how you execute better?
Yeah, I think it's what we do, our bread and butter, right? At Petra Coach it's 1% strategy, 99% execution. So getting really clear around what plan you're executing on, getting alignment from a team, and then frequently talking to each other about what the progress is on that transparency that we talked about earlier today in our Petra Academy as a team, learning and growing together.
Awesome. Greg?
Yeah, I think you can have the right mindset and you can execute like crazy, But if you're playing in the wrong playground, it's not going to matter. The world has changed. And a lot of industries and a lot of businesses are going away or need to be radically changed. So I think it's really important to look at the marketplace, look at the sandbox that you're going to play in, and make sure that it's a viable sandbox.
All right, so we got mindset, we got execution, and we got sandbox. Or
I also think it comes down to people. We talk about, having the right people on the right seats, doing the right things. And I think in order for companies, no matter where they are, as they scale, they continually have to reevaluate your people. The people that necessarily got you to 10 million aren't the same people that might get you to 20 million or 40 million, right? So you have to continually evaluate your people and grow them, right? So you have to look and say, how are I growing these people in order to help meet the growth? And then if you cap out, what else do you need? Or how does that structure need to look different? So every organization needs people to grow, to execute on the plan, and support it with great technology. But I think you can't forget the people.
Mind the gap.
and that comes all the way back to mindset, because if the people have a stagnant mindset, then it's not going to work anyway. Eric, I think you had your hand up.
Jason stole my answer. Please move on.
Oh, happens all the time. Happens all the time.
I'm always
Jason.
one step ahead of you, Eric.
David, is there anything around money or cash?
Yeah, you know me, I'm always going to say cash, cash, cash. I do think we may be in store for a downturn, if it's even more significant than it is today. So now is the time to put resources on your balance sheet and protect those resources to get you to the other side. I also think we're going to have to all up our game to be better in this new world. We had Vern on this morning as we all watched, and he said something about some industries, it was so easy to be successful. You just had to have a pulse. Well, I think we're all going to have to up our game going forward and be better salesmen and be better leaders and be better technicians. And this pulse stuff is not going to work. We're going to have to be all going to have to up our game if we're going to survive in this new world that's come on.
That's awesome. And you took mine. So if I wait long enough, skills, upskilling ourselves and upskilling our organization. So getting better as we go through this process. So we've got biggest hurdle facing businesses for scale, mindset, and that includes the mindset of the people as well as the organization, execution, the marketplace, the sandbox, as Greg said, the people themselves, and then cash, being able to have a pile of cash to go to work with, and then the skills that we bring to the table. So that's a pretty big set of things that we need to pay attention to and do things about, so we don't experience those as actual hurdles. You mentioned Vern a second ago. JT,
Andy, can
add one more thing. Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to jump in because I've seen you do it, and this is one way when we're working with our members that we get them to unlock their mindset. And if anybody's watching this video, if you've got your big company or little company that you're not working with us and you want to go back and do something to expand mindset, I've seen Andy do this literally. Hey, how much revenue do we want to do for next year, 2021? And well, this year we did 10 million, so 10% growth. And we just add that on and kind of put that up there and we start talking about what that looks like. I've seen Andy do it. It works like a charm. All you really have to do is go up and add a zero. Change it from 11 million to 110 million, and everybody's eyes bug out and say, listen, yeah, that sounds crazy. What would we have to go do in order for that? And then they'll list about 10 things. Probably some of those things you need to go do anyway, right? So that's how to get people to think differently about what's possible. I've seen Andy do it a bunch of times and it works like a charm.
Yeah, and it's easier to think, in many cases, it's easier to 10x than it is to 2x.
Andy, I'd like to add something.
Go ahead.
So I think what we're embarking upon will be defined as, I don't know what the name of the leadership style will be, but most leaders have lost touch with their employee base as they've gone remote, and they're all looking for how to reconnect them. And the companies that can figure out, not just the right people, but the companies that can figure out how to inspire and lead those people in a way where they're not together will be those that will accelerate faster than others.
All right, perfect. So there's a question here about that. And again, anybody that's listening on Facebook or on Zoom or Periscope or MySpace or whatever it is that you're joining us on, make sure you're putting in those questions so that we can answer them. You got a lot of big brains on here, so let's take advantage of these people. The statement, there's a couple of these wrapped up in Marshall's statement. Through this pandemic, my personal relational skills as a leader have been needed and challenged. It's become very obvious my emotional intelligence skill set is lacking, but necessary if I'm going to be the leader I want to be. Any advice on how to best proceed? So hang on to that question. Next question around the same topic was, what skills do you feel will be needed in the future to be successful, both as a leader in the business and as a team member in those businesses? So kind of think about those questions and let's see if we can get some answers for folks. Chip?
I think the first thing is, again, another topic we've had at Petra Academy this week is developing your skill around content creation, not only real-time content creation. So what are you using with this amazing TV studio in your pocket, but also what are you doing to capture that and broadcast that to your team, your audience, your community, et cetera.
Okay, so use of video, you got one in your pockets, pull it out, use it. You can capture emotion and everything else when you're talking about that, not just text or not just an email. Any other skill sets, Amanda?
It's a basic one, but just listen. So you can use that same little phone to just call another team member and ask them how they're doing and listen to their day. And I think that sometimes people just want to be heard and just want to know that leadership is listening to them and that cares about them. So it's nothing new or fancy, but an old phone call goes a long way.
Old school phone call. And then shut up and listen. Nice job. I think she's talking to me. Go ahead, Taylor.
Which also plays on to what Vern said earlier. He said, instead of assuming, oh, I know you put a lot of hard work into that project, let's say, asking, so how did you do that? Again, letting them share that, celebrating their wins and having the discussion and not assuming and actually having the conversation.
So when somebody shows up and said, this is what I've accomplished, and instead of piling on that, just stop and ask the question, how did you do that? And let them have that celebratory, I did this and I did this and I did this and I did this. And he talked a little bit about that not being just for business, but take that home as well. Do it with your kids, do it with your loved ones. What else do we have around this leadership? Marshall, you were going down the path. You want to add to it?
Yeah, it hinges on what Mandy said. What I found is as companies become separated, it's easy to, quote, call and manage and go very tactical. But prior to the listening, set yourself up for the call and start with that person as a human being first. And it involves the listening, and then understand what they're going through in an effort to complete what it is that they're responsible for. And then offer to provide help. Sometimes help is as easy as just, finding them answers. So it's really they're people first and what they can get done last.
Very cool. John or Emily, go ahead. John Ali.
Yes, I mean, I think Marshall's point is spot on, and having experienced this in my organization as well, being very intentional about ways that you can set up both individual meetings or even smaller groups, virtual coffees, things that you can gather 3 to 5 people together and invite that opportunity for there to be an emotional connection. They can maybe address some of their concerns, their fears. I think right now, there are a lot of people that are stressed, a lot of people that are depressed, a lot of people that are concerned. And we as leaders, not only making a vehicle for them to get the facts and the information about the business, but also being accessible to them in a way that we maybe used to by the management by walking around. And then in turn, also training the leaders underneath us, depending on the scale of the organization. This can't all be on the CEO. And so you've got to have your leaders being trained how to manage differently in the current crisis, which I think is probably going to go on for some time.
Let's move that question down a bit. So we've talked a lot about leadership. There's a piece of the question that says, what skills do you feel we need in the future to be successful, both as a leader in business and as a team member in those businesses? So let's think about from a team member perspective. Maybe they don't, this person doesn't have, a team of people that they lead, or direct supports is what we call them. But what are the skills that the team member is going to need to be successful in the future? Petra Coach?
I think one of the most important things that I've seen so far that I think is going to continue to be really important as we move forward is the adaptability factor. As leaders are working through a lot of challenges in the business world and are wanting to do what's best for everybody, I think there will continue to be a lot of changes and a lot of testing things that are new and trial and error. And I think just having that adaptability mindset, that ability to look at a situation and go, okay, we can do this and we'll see if it works. And if it doesn't work, let's do this, is going to be really crucial as a team member.
Awesome. Very good. So be adaptable. What else? Who else? Eric? And then I'll go to Mark.
I mean, I think it really comes down to team members' ability to communicate and compel and persuade people to get things that they want done. You know, Carmine Gallo in his book, Talk Like Ted, talks about the difference in as you move up a food chain. So someone that's a really good computer programmer can make $100,000 a year. If they're a good if they're a good programmer and they can communicate well, they can lead a team and make $250,000 a year. If they can communicate really, really well, they can be the CEO of a tech company and make billions. And it all comes down to how well they're able to communicate and get people to do what they want them to do.
Right. And that is a skill. It's a learned skill. Very good. Chip, and then Mark, I left you out. I'm going to go to Chip. I'll come back.
I think the other thing is just as a team member, being able and willing to seek out clarity in order to remove as much ambiguity as you can, because with the distance that we're dealing with now, oftentimes, and I've had people come to me about dealing with this, is that they don't feel compelled to seek out that clarity because they've been given an instruction either via email or a text or some other interactive way. And so ask for clarity to root out that ambiguity of what exactly your team needs from you.
Business, but take that home.
All right. So ask, right? That's always something we could all learn, the little 3-letter word, ask. Very simple. But Mark, you've been patiently waiting, and then Krista, I'll jump over to you.
Yeah, what I was going to say is I think one of the biggest skills that goes along with what what Chip was saying, with what Eric's saying, is it's vulnerability, right? In this time, it's like, you cannot have courage without vulnerability. That's Brene Brown's stuff. And I think that's one of the top skills that people can be building. It is a skill. Too many leaders and team members don't ask the questions, as Chip said, because they're not willing to be vulnerable, not willing to seem like they don't have the answers. And I think that as we continue both in the short and longer term, that skill has got to be worked on. It's not something that I think comes naturally, especially to a lot of leaders. And it's the most powerful thing I think they can work on to move forward.
And for the listeners, just what do you mean by vulnerability? Because that's kind of a vague, have a lot of different meanings. So can you give us what you think of as vulnerability?
Sure. I don't think vulnerability means you just kind of show up and just throw everything out there and just put it all out there. I think vulnerability is a combination of compassion, of understanding, of a little bit of willingness to ask questions that may seem to be show your shortcomings. And it's not shortcomings, just you may not know. Or you also know that there might be more answers in the room. So it's that willingness to put yourself out there and be seen, maybe not as the answer haver, but the answer asker. And that's vulnerability in my book.
The answer haver, not so much the answer asker. I don't know. That's
the answer asker, not the answer haver.
Oh yeah, that needs to be our next. Somebody needs to go write that article, please.
I guess I got elected, huh?
Yeah, write that down, Krista.
I got it.
And then Patrick, and we're going to move to the next question. Go ahead, Krista.
I think just echoing out off of everybody's comments, it's really driving factors of communication among your leadership team. And it's something when you enter as a member for Petra, we really push communications, whether that's Myers-Briggs, DISC certifications, all of those different things. So you learn who you're working with, how they like to be communicated with, how they like details received. So just understanding what their strengths, what their weaknesses are. So if you haven't invested in your leadership team, in your management team, prior to this high stress situation where you learn if people fight or, take a step back. Just understanding where your leadership's coming from and how we like to communicate with one another. I think that's a huge thing. So if you haven't invested in it before, definitely dive in. Myers-Briggs, DISC, I'm sure the team can pull up other examples there, but.
So understanding how people respond best to being communicated with. Patrick.
Yes, one further thought on vulnerability and what it could look like in a leadership context, which is that there's often been previously this pressure or norm of pretending to know you have all the answers as the leader, and that's just what you're supposed to do to provide. That's what strength looks like. That's what the team really needs. But what COVID has done is expose that no one has the answers, and it's pulled the rug out from everyone. And what vulnerability can look like is admitting that and acknowledge, and then replace vulnerability with transparency and talking to your team about, look, I don't have the answers. Here's the latest stuff I've been reading. This is the process I'm doing and how I'm informing myself to lead us through this, and what information do you guys have? So vulnerability this is a great opportunity to move away from that other way of leading and towards more transparency.
Yeah, I think it's said this way: answer asker versus answer haver. Right? This is, I'm not going to lose this, Mark. I think this is this could be a bestseller at some point. So I'm going to put that over here. Nice job. We do have a question in the chat box. Let me read this, and then whoever can address this. This is a question under new markets. So. How does a company launch its technology into uncharted markets when you are a lean startup? Now, I have to make the assumption that lean startup just means there's not a lot of capital, not a lot of human resources, there's not a lot to go out there and go big. So how do you get it launched? And I'm assuming launched is people are buying it and know about it. And it seems to be technology into a new market. There's a lot of pieces to this question. So I think I stalled long enough to get your minds wrapped around that, asking the question 17 ways. So Greg, kick us off.
Well, one suggestion would be to read the best-selling book, Crossing the Chasm by Jeffrey Moore. He talks specifically about that. And he talks about addressing early adapters versus the other tranches. And really, he talks about focusing on a market segment that you think you could be incredibly successful with and dominate that segment. And then use that as the domino to move into other segments from there. But read the book.
Read the book.
I'll add to Greg's.
Go ahead, Mark.
We build technology, or we build businesses around solving problems. And I think we have to ask ourselves to narrow the market. What problem are we looking to solve? And then to add on to what you said, Greg, what market are we going to go after? And let's don't go too broad until we get market validation that we have a proof of concept, and then we can expand from there.
So if we can give them like a couple of tips to kind of get this started, because I've got a feeling this is a 1, 2, 3 person shop and they're just attempting to get something started. How might you, like from its most simplistic standpoint, let's give them some pointers on just to get started. Jennifer, I know you guys.
Go for it, Mark. You go.
Ladies first. Go ahead, Jen.
So I'll jump in. We talked about this a little bit earlier, and I think a piece of advice would be to know your customers. So this came out of the conversation, but those who know their customers are the ones that are winning right now. So know exactly who you are selling to. And then also, how do you get the masses to promote your business? So if you think of, Amazon and all the reviews that they have, when somebody's looking for something, they go to Amazon, they look at reviews. So know your market, and then how can you get the masses to promote your business?
Yeah, that's the path I was going to take too, Catherine. Who are the influencers that could be your voice? If you don't have $4 million to spend here, or $10 million or $200 to spend, who are the influencers that do have that kind of influence that doesn't necessarily cost you a lot of money to go get in front of them? What are 2 or 3 other things this person might want to hear to get a technology into uncharted markets when they're lean?
So Andy, I think you can use those influencers to start building your list, right? So use those influencers to collect email addresses, provide resources, jump on and be the subject matter expert and the thought leader in that uncharted market as you're going in and maybe disrupting. So if you have a lead magnet, you can generate emails and then you can start dropping them into email funnels, marketing funnels. And eventually, once you've built that email list up and you're ready to launch, you have a target audience you can go to with that message.
Okay, so start building
Yeah.
that. You had something? Just raise your hand, I'll come to you. JT, did you have something?
Yeah, just super quick, just because I have a front row seat right now to a startup which is now taking off. Now they did get funding, and so they are burning some money to do it, although most of their burn is going to developing the product. I think that a couple of things I've heard there. Guys, y'all help me. Remember at Summit, remember the book, was it Partnering with a Sumo? Dancing with a Sumo or something? There's a book about go out and attach yourself to already.
Sumo Advantage.
Sumo Advantage, really, really good. You could tell how much I loved it by how much I remember the title. What I remember about it being powerful is I'm watching my wife's company kind of do that right now. They've gone out to the big players in the space where they need to be, and they have customized what they do to the one thing those big players don't have, right? So because they can integrate with these different big sumos, these heavyweights in the industry, they don't have to go sell. They don't have to go educate millions of people as to what they do. The sumos are going to tell people, hey, you already use us. And now, by the way, did you know you need this? They got some strategic partnerships. So I think it might be different. By the way, they're also doing what Jennifer was just talking about. They also have sales funnels. They're also doing outside selling and building that. It's two completely different strategies. And Jen and her partner at the top of the organization, what are they spending all their time doing? It's those giant strategic partnerships. They want to be in there, make sure their technology integrates with ADP and stuff like that. And then they've got a sales function over here that are out there building the sales funnel and acting on those. So it's a two-pronged approach.
And I think nobody is off limits. So as you take this to market, think about who are the biggest players, who are the biggest names, who are the biggest individual that you need to be close to. And don't think in terms of, well, I can never get there. Go ahead and start there. Start working from the very top. Eric, you had something to add?
JT stole mine again as well. I was one person late, but AOL was a startup at one point that had no business, and they partnered with computer systems and gave disks away for free and piggybacked to become the behemoth of the industry. So I think JT was right on point. Who can you partner with that's not competitive and work out some sort of agreement and piggyback off their success?
Awesome. Let me go to Mark. He's dying over here to talk.
Oh, I actually think some of the answers in the question, right? Which is, I think Lean Startup is an awesome book for this. I mean, I'm in Silicon Valley here, but that approach really, really works well for lean companies, which is build that minimal viable product, the MVP, and get it to, those influencers, to those people. Don't feel like you have to solve everything. Get something so you can test rapidly and then get it out there. Get out to those influencers, to the big people, whatever it is. But I see so many businesses that are like, you know what, we're going to spend 6 months on getting it right. Spend, 6 days on it and get something out there that people will give you feedback on.
And Mark, from that book, Lean Startup, I know that there's big, strong on until you can afford salespeople, you are the salesperson. Nobody's going to sell it better than you. The CEO, the product head, nobody can sell it better than you. You know the most about this thing that's not a thing yet. So just that, I wouldn't be afraid to put it out there, even if you're not a great salesperson. Who cares? You know about the product, and it's something that they want.
Yeah. Oh, and that's every entrepreneur. Small businesses all start out like that, right, JT? Which is they sell on passion. It's because the founder or the small group of people has this passion, and they wanted to get it out there in front of people. Do that. Get out there. I think there's never been a better time than right now for any company, but even the new ones, to get out in front. And to your point, Andy, reach for the biggest ones, the best. there's never been a better time or an easier time for people to actually connect with others rapidly. You know, don't hold yourself back.
Chip, final word on this, and then we're going to move.
Yeah, really quickly. Know exactly what pain you are eliminating for your market, not what problem you're solving. What pain are you eliminating? And don't deviate. Say no way more than you will say yes, because all those tech startups that I've been involved with over the years, and I've been doing it for 20 plus years, always, when they got into trouble, it was because they deviated from their original plan because it kept saying yes.
All right, I lied. David, you jumped in there.
Mine's real quick, just really a mindset thing. Be in it for the long haul. Don't try and hit the home run if it's not obvious out there. What Apple took 20 years to be an overnight success. So you've got to be willing to put in the time to get to where you want to be. And it's unlikely you're going to be that overnight success. There's very few of those. So don't be in it for the long haul, I guess would be the mindset.
All right, cool. So keep your questions coming in. You can put them in questions. You can put them in chat, Facebook comment, whatever. Yell really loud from the street. We'll hear you. Here's a question I want to ask this team and get some feedback. I think it applies broadly to business. How will talent acquisition change over the next 24 months? So again, this is not, actively right now, but in the next couple of years, how will talent acquisition change? And what will a business need to do to attract high-level talent? So how will it change in the next couple of years, talent acquisition? And what will a business need to do to attract high-level talent? Who would like to go first?
Can I throw it out there?
JT always goes first. Who wants to really go first this time? He always, David, Pierce, and JT, they want to come back to you.
Right.
David, go for it.
Pretty basic scaling up, guys, but build a place that people want to be a part of, and the talent will come to you. That's simple. Culture, people, people want to be a part of places that resonates with them. If you build the right place, they'll wait in line to work for you.
Okay. So build a place that people want to show up for. And that has a lot of different meanings. JT?
This is just more of this is a personal feeling thing. If you'd said, hey, how is talent acquisition going to change in the next 24 months? And as opposed to how much it's changed in the last 5 months, it's already been a seismic sea change. I personally think, and maybe this is just because I have 2 kids currently in college, I think that maybe over the course of the next year or so, people are maybe right this second, they're discovering that their college education is not as important as they thought it was going to be, because they're being forced to do it and learn stuff at home at their own pace, which they could have done anyway. I think talent acquisition is going to start earlier and skew younger. I think the better training you have inside of your organization as to whatever you want people to do, you're going to pluck people off the tree now instead of waiting for them to come out and be in some job board. I think you'll start hiring people when they're juniors in college and not after they graduated.
All right. So training will be a piece of something businesses are going to have to focus on in the future, correct? I heard that through that comment. So let's make sure we weave that in there. John?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that's happening right now and will continue to be a trend over the next year or two is that you're going to see some talent available in the market that wasn't available before. Companies that may be major players in your space that aren't making this transition well, that are struggling with the new economy, with the new structure of things, struggling with remote workforces, and they're having to suffer downsizing and attrition. And we're already starting to see people that were not available 6, 8, 10 months ago available. And I think that's going to continue as a trend. And that to me circles right back to what David said. For me, the answer to this question is always culture, culture, culture. You build a place that is differentiated based on your core values, based on how you operate as a people organization, and you will always have an advantage over your competitors. And then the last thing I'll say is that also then ties back to your ability to do that remotely. Because I think even as we get on the other side of this current pandemic, there is going to be an increased number of organizations that have remote workforces or large portions of their workforce that are remote. And so your ability to breathe that culture of life into people that aren't physically in the same office, it's not easy, and you have to be very intentional about it.
Good. So people focused and making sure that we're able to maintain culture and create culture even in a remote work environment. Mandy.
The thing I was going to add on, John, I was thinking that same thing. The majority of my circle right now, the kind of the friends, they are not going back to their workplace anytime soon. And I have probably 40% of them that their companies are considering completely shutting down the office. And so it gives them the ability now to be able to work from wherever, you know, whereas they had to, you wanted to be within so many miles of your office, or you wanted to be in the city or in the suburbs. You know, I think that that is dramatically going to change in the next 24 months. And I think that systems and processes are going to be vitally important to now bringing those remote workers in. Companies have always been trying to figure out, how do we onboard remotely? How do we have remote workers and have them feel a part of the culture? That's not a new challenge, but I think that's going to be a bigger challenge really in the next 2 years. And I think the answer to some of that is, you know, an onboarding process that's not just for the people in person, but it's also for remote folks. You know, systems to make them feel like they're a part, processes so people know that what's expected of them. And that's what's going to attract the high talents. Otherwise, it's just going to be this rotating door of people in and out, because anybody can work wherever they want, any company, any location. And that's going to be neat in the next 24 months to see.
All right, so systems and processes that will support the creation of this culture as well as the training into the organization. I got Jason. Did I see this?
Yeah,
okay.
That was right on.
Jason, so let's go there.
Yeah, so I just kind of piggyback off of what Mandy and also John said is one thing I'm seeing with my members is they are hiring, they are looking for people out of their marketplace. They recognize the fact that they're not going to have the office they had before. So they're actively recruiting. I've had companies in San Diego, they've just hired true executive leadership on the East Coast, and they're not looking for them to relocate. So they're understanding that right now, the way the workforce is, it can be any, as Mandy's saying. So companies are looking for that. The other thing I was going to say about, you know, how do you attract? And part of it is making sure that you have opportunity for growth, right? People are looking to, you know, grow in an organization. So when they get in at one place, what's that going to look like for them in 5 years? Is there opportunity for them to personally grow? Is there opportunity for them to professionally grow?
Awesome. So being able to demonstrate that when they come into an organization, what the opportunities might look like. Let me hear from some people who haven't jumped in here just yet. Daisy, do you have any input on this?
Yeah, I think that one of the ways I've personally think is, you know, going off of what Jason said, I think it's really about growth and getting people in there and knowing that they're important to the organization. I think that's really, really huge, especially now. And knowing that being remote, having that part of there, that shouldn't matter. And it is always going to be here, I think, moving forward.
All right. Any other comments on attracting talent, 24 months and what the difference is? Chip, you're holding something up?
Hashtag ABR, like that old saying, always be closing, always be recruiting. You never know. Especially outside of your whatever your comfort zone is in terms of people. You may meet somebody in some completely different industry that served you well and you saw a good core value fit. Hand them a card. Always be recruiting.
So always be looking, no matter where you are, you have an interaction with someone. Mandy knows this, but I've kept an Evernote file in my phone forever that every time I meet somebody that might remotely be somebody in the future I want to reach back out to, they go into that particular Evernote. Most of you guys can check with me later, see if you were ever in there. Moving on to the next questions. You ready? Give me a thumbs up if you're ready. Everybody. All right, here we go. Here's the next question. I really want to hear from folks that I'm not hearing from just yet. I know you got some good thoughts and ideas. So if you haven't been on the screen talking very much, please get in there. This is a simple question. I think you got some good answers for it. And there's about 3 iterations of this in this list. How would you address someone that is stuck, in parentheses, or in quotes, stuck? Someone who just feels like everything is against them and they cannot move forward. How would you address that situation with that person? Raise your hand when you're ready. Morgan Stanley. Yes, ma'am.
Here I am. So, you know, I think it's a mind shift thing. So if you feel like the entire world is against you, or you think everything is against you, it's definitely a mind shift. So it's coaching that person to think differently. So it's not the whole world is against me, or it's, you know, not a negative thing. It's a whole way to look at it. And so I think whether it's business or personal, you have to look at things a little differently, and know that, you know, it's the entire world isn't against you. Your company isn't against you. And it's just changing that mind shift a little.
So how would you address that?
Me personally, very personally. I think I would, you know, talk to them and walk them through what is the situation at hand. Why do you feel like this? And really get to the why. So why are you feeling like this? I think with anything, has to be a why behind it. And so is there something going on in your personal life? Is there something that's been stressing you out? Like, why are you feeling stuck and not being able to move forward, and then get to the root of that?
Okay, so digging into the real reason behind the feeling, because there's always something else. Patrick?
Yeah, it's, allowing space for their feelings as a starting point, because not everyone is going to respond well to the "we've got this, think positively, we're going to get through it, rah rah," that kind of a style. Some people, there's a lot of challenges for a lot of people that they're feeling internally, psychologically, battling things related to this, fears and depressions. And first, as a starting point, allowing for some space for those feelings, and then pulling alongside them as a human to see if there's a way to solve the problem in the work context with them within your company. So treating people as people on an individual level.
Yeah. So obviously this is this question has a wide range, right? So how you address this can be a lot of different ways. So I want to hear from everyone. So I got Taylor, Catherine, and who else had their hand up? And then Krista, and then we'll go to Aaron. So Taylor, you're first.
Maybe they don't belong there. So I'm going to go the opposite way of Patrick, where he went feelings, which is usually where I go. Jason, does this look familiar?
Yep.
So I'm thinking, this is my sketch team. The C players, this person's probably not a good fit, and they hate everybody. They're miserable probably at work, at home, and at work as well. And so they're pulling their A players down. They have more power. They can pull these positive people down into their negative space. So it might not be a place for them. They might need to kind of on to the next, and then they'll be happier. Maybe they're just not in a good spot for them.
So Taylor, am I hearing that you would fire them? Is that what I just?
Instantly, right off. I wouldn't even ask any
Okay.
questions.
Yeah, I mean, there's like I said, there's different opinions.
No.
I think the point is that sometimes people aren't in a happy place because they're not in the right environment, and they're afraid to make the change. And sometimes you just need to help them make the change. It's not because, and one of the things we always say is, everybody is an A player in some organization. It just might not be your organization. So it's being fair and having an honest conversation. I know I had to do that in my own company. I had to let somebody go that was one of my longest term employees because it wasn't working for her and it wasn't working for us. So I think those changes. The other thing I was going to say, Andy, is sometimes the thing is people need to see some wins, and setting one goal for the day and let you get a simple win. It doesn't have to be big, right? You don't have to have a home run and do everything all at once. And so stacking some small wins together will turn people around and get them in a better mind place.
Okay. So I want to, and Catherine, you're next. So make sure we're focusing on the question. How would you address someone that is stuck? So I hear tactics about how someone else might do this. Tell me, like, how would you address someone that is stuck? Catherine?
So 2 trains of thought. The first one is you have to attract the energy that you want to receive. So this goes back to Morgan's point of you have to shift your mindset. Misery loves company. And if that's your outlook on things, then those are the types of things that you're going to attract. So coaching them, of course, to shift their mindset. And then the second thing, I actually listened to a podcast this morning. That's where I heard this, but it's going really deep into figuring out the why. So sitting down and thinking back as far as you can as to whatever issue you're facing when you first experienced that. So it might be, when you were a 4-year-old, right? But getting back to the why. And so that, I think that goes to Patrick's point of giving people the ability to air out their feelings and really getting to the root cause of why you feel a certain way or why you're acting a certain way.
All right, so layer by layer by layer. Awesome. Yep. Krista, and then Aaron.
Just have a little bit to add to that. I think we've been looking at it, and the way Morgan and Catherine and Taylor, approach that situation is a lot higher level of what's the why, digging deep. A way that I could approach it, or we could approach it, is the we versus me mindset. How can the team help you? How can we delegate? How can we figure this out? The second is, all right, we're going to win this week. Pull up your calendar. Let me coach you through it. What do you feel stuck on? Which projects do you feel stuck on? Let's time block. Let's figure out how you're spending your days so you feel like you've won at the end of the day. So bouncing off of Jason's idea of what's that top priority, what is the one thing you're going to achieve, building up those small successes are going to really, really make a difference. Take it in increments. We're going to win the week. Pull up your calendar. Let's take a look and let's figure it out.
Win the week. I like that.
Win the week. Write that down. That's amazing.
Here's your article, Krista.
That's very true. Write that down. Aaron.
So this is obviously a mindset issue. Somebody is stuck in a place that they're not in a good spot. I think it's really important to have an honest conversation. I think that's how we grow. I think that's how we build. We don't sugarcoat things. And just approaching it as, how can I help you? So they're coming to you with an issue. You also want them to come with a resolution. You don't want somebody who's just going to complain. You want somebody to come and has thought through, how can I change these things? I think it's important to validate their feelings. That may not be how you feel, but to validate them as a human being. And then you just create a roadmap for the future. And that might be a hard, honest conversation as well. And that might include, this is where we need to go. Can you be on board with this? Can we work on growth mindset changes? Can we do these type of things? We don't want to completely hug them and hold them and cuddle them. We want to give them structure, but we also need to be honest and open with them as, this is where we're going. Can you get to that point to do it? If not, what else can we do, or how should we move forward?
Very good. So you can see that this team that we work with here at Petra has lots of different viewpoints on how we solve these challenges. We also have things called tools or worksheets. Chip, so this would be a worksheet or a tool. This is on our website. You're more welcome to go there and download it. If you go to PetraCoach/TheVault, this worksheet is probably in the top 5 download worksheets in there. And the essence of this is, sit down with the person, and I would say, Jennifer, I know you're struggling right now. Let's map out that struggle. How are you feeling? What is your satisfaction level in all of these areas? The 6 F's. And then we would design, what's our win for the week? What's our win for the month? What's our win for the year? And we're going to talk about not where we are, but where we're going. We're going to talk about what the improvement is going to look like. So to move your mindset from where you are stuck from to where you want to be and start taking some action. So I love that we're, kind of ticking off, what are we doing well towards something that's going to be more bright in the future. So let's keep those things in mind. We got lots of tools. And look at that, it's in the chat as well. Next question, thumbs up. You guys ready? All right, here we go. What types of fatigue do I need to be looking out for inside my company? And what are the signs? What types of fatigue do I need to be looking out for inside of my company? And what are the signs? So John just rubbed his face like he was like, oh, that might be a sign. I don't know. Who wants to go first? Taylor Brown.
I'm kind of thinking, this really plays on to the win the week is my solution, but I'm thinking like missed deadlines. So if it is an A player that is constantly always all over it, and then things are starting to slip slowly and you're like, it's so out of character for that person, that would be my first red flag. To have the conversation, what's happening here? Let's win the week, Krista, and let's kind of get back on track or find those challenges.
All right, so maybe slipping in work quality, missing some deadlines might be a sign of fatigue that's in that, the individual or even part of the organization. What else are we looking for? What are the signs? Anybody else? Yes, Krista.
Maybe just overall participation in any type of meeting rhythms that you have. So whether that's daily, weeklies, the opportunity to brainstorm and solve. If you notice somebody who is usually a crucial role and has all these great ideas isn't speaking up as much, I mean, participation in those type of meeting rhythms could be a trigger.
All right, so missed deadlines and participation. Patrick, is it now? We got some participation. Patrick?
You know, I'm thinking of the Zoom conversation we had earlier, and are talking about how to engage virtually. Just keep being watchful for those tells on screen, whether it's looking away or, you know, looking down, or just prolonged silence, or other tells of disengagement virtually, as some people are working virtually.
All right, so disengagement, non-participation, missed deadlines. Catherine?
Yeah. So if they're off of their daily routine, you know, so I'll use Marshall as an example because he works out 10 times a day, right, Marshall? 15? Yeah. So if somebody's off of their daily routine, could be another way.
Okay, so if they're off of a routine that they normally would be on that might keep them engaged and energized, there could be fatigue. There's too many hands for me to keep up with. So Mandy, I'm coming to you. I see your face.
I know. It kind of piggybacks on a bunch of these, but thinking of fatigue, I'll call it outside of the working world. As a parent right now, I have a first grader that is doing virtual learning. I know a lot of other faces on the screen also have children at home doing virtual learning. And it's very taxing to be really present and proactive and forward thinking from a work environment, and then help your first grader do the same thing all day long. And so thinking outside of selfishly just the business, how do we help those individuals that are having something in their personal life, you know, kids being in school being a very prominent one right now, and making sure that as a employee that my fatigue could be from work or school or both, and then working through that.
Which makes you more fatigued? The first grader in school? I'm not going to go there. Eric?
I mean, I would do work is I know how to work. Like I can come and I can do this all day. I don't know how to do first grade PE, believe it or not. It's more intricate than you would think. It's very challenging.
Ben Marshall over there. JP.
I want to piggyback on that. I know I jumped in line there, but this is something that Morgan and I work with a company in Connecticut that is completely virtual, right? Think about 100 employees. And I thought it was really proactive, and they all during the COVID thing, they've been all about practicing self-care, and they've been all over it. It's literally been priorities in line around self-care, and that's been great. The thing they're really proactive about now that school is ramping back up, the same thing that Mandy just mentioned, I'm experiencing it here at the moment. I know other people within the sound of my voice here know what this is all about. It is so difficult to be great at any one thing when you're distracted, wondering if you're falling down on the job as a parent, when your kids are supposed to be learning and all this stuff. Anyway, what that company has done is and it's almost like we're talking about, hey, how do we know when people are fatigued? They're going the other way and making sure people don't get fatigued. Like hey, we've noticed kids are going back to school virtually. We know that generally speaking, at least for right now on the East Coast, it's going to be from 8:30 in the morning to 12:30 p.m. We're shifting all of our important meetings to the end of the day. Daily huddles have moved. Weekly huddles have moved. Production meetings have moved. If you can't even log on until 12:30, just let us know, and that's totally fine. Also building in rest times, literally for everybody. Nobody email each other between 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. unless the damn company is burning down. Leave each other alone. People, clear your mind, have lunch, take a walk, whatever. That's how, not only can you identify people being fatigued, but you can keep it from even happening in the first place, which I thought for them was really proactive and cool.
All right, cool. Let's be cognizant of time. We got 7 minutes. I got one more question. Eric?
So liquor sales are up 12% since
New
COVID
Orleans.
started.
New Orleans.
No, liquor sales are up across the country with almost every bar being closed. I am in New Orleans, but liquor sales are up with every bar closed. So I think, substance abuse and alcohol challenges are a real thing, and it's something companies should be thinking about and proactively be offering support and help to people even before they might need it, as we're moving to this next phase where mental health issues are going to really start to show up.
Totally agree. Opioid use is way up everything. All right, so we got 6 minutes left. This hour has flown by for me. I don't know about you. Here's my last and final question, and I want you to show me your pens, especially if you got a big old marker somewhere like this. know you got one close by. Sharpies, some kind of big marker. Something to write on? You got something to write on? You got a sticky pad or oh, look at you guys. Find yourself a clean piece of paper, answer this question. If you only had one book to read, what book would it be and why? Now, a bunch of us would write down the Bible because it's the one book. So I want you to think past that. We'll just take that as you're going to get that one free. All right, and when you're on, let's do this. Give me a thumbs up when you're done so I know when we're going to post these up. All right, done. Jason, Mark. All right, on 3, put them in the screen so we can see them. Then we're going to chat about them for just a second. 1, 2, 3. I said that really fast. Anti-Fragile. Flight of the Buffalo. Perform like a rock star. Built to last. The obstacle is the way. How to win friends and influence people. Chop wood, carry water. The coaching habit. Exponential organizations. Just told us, what does that say, Craig? Oh, Humanocracy. Dare to lead. Daisy, I cannot read that. Atomic Habits. So let's go with Jennifer. Dare to lead. Tell us why.
Had to find my mute button. Sorry. Can I still be a coach? Okay. So I think Dare to Lead, Mark alluded to it earlier. This is where vulnerability comes in. And I think this is going to be even more important as we go into potentially a tough fall for companies that are working virtually with a lot of unknowns. Being able to be vulnerable and what Brene Brown calls rumble with people during a discussion is going to help people stay curious, figure out how to deal with the messy middle of problem solving. And then I like to say, and some of the accountability coaches have heard me say this in planning days, deal with conflict. And conflict can actually be a point of connection if we are curious. So conflict can be a point of connection if we are curious. And I think that right there, the way that we look at conflict is actually going to help our organizations grow and scale better.
I think that's our third article, conflict as a point of connection.
Yeah, write it down. And
I'll keep these. They're all on the roster for these articles.
there's a little coaching skill coming out there. She repeated the important thing 2 times so you would actually listen to it. Awesome job. Hold your books back up real fast. Let's see them again. Patrick Berg, tell us about Anti-Fragile and why that's your book choice.
Well, it resonated with what Vern said this morning about, resiliency is something I've always prided myself on, but lately with COVID and it has exposed the fragility of my business. I know I'm not alone. And so that title and what he spoke about briefly about it just really grabbed me about how do we take this as an opportunity to start building for the long term an anti-fragile business, which for all the people connected to it and stakeholders can then create less fragility for all those stakeholders.
Totally. And in the work that we're doing, more people are awake to, oh crap, I should have some cash set aside. Oh crap, I should have been looking at that threats list. They're going to do, businesses in the future will be a lot more anti-fragile just because of this experience. Hold your books back up. Keep talking, Patrick. Keep going.
That's right. So we were in that position where we were very fragile. By the grace of God and the PPP, that has come along, we now have a new opportunity to do things differently. And that's the case for a lot of folks. I've witnessed in businesses in our industry, people not doing it correctly. And it's a shame, but there is an opportunity to become more anti-fragile.
Absolutely. More resilient. Chop wood, carry water, Chip. One of my favorites as well. Give us 10 seconds on that.
I think I've read it 3 times in the last 18 months. There's nothing, in my experience, nothing that can't be solved by going back to the fundamentals. Strip it down, solve it, build back up, rinse, repeat.
Yeah. Before enlightenment. All right, let's do it again. Before enlightenment.
Chop wood, carry water.
After enlightenment.
Chop wood, carry water.
Very good. Let me see your books one more time. I'm going to get to one more before we run out of. Let's go with Atomic Habits. And Miss Erin, tell us why that's your one book.
Your habits create your future. You have to create those habits within yourself to create them in your business.
Absolutely. Very good. So hopefully those books that we held up on the screen, you guys can like pause the video and take a peek at those. Maybe we could get a list out, Leah, to
Take a screenshot. I'll make a list of it.
Yeah. So everybody kind of has a list of books that they could go grab for that. We're right up on our full hour. Patrons, thank you for being here as a part of Coach's Corner. Everybody that tuned in, thank you for being a part of Coach's Corner. And we do this, is it every 2 weeks, Leah, that we do this?
It is every other Wednesday.
Every other Wednesday. So if you can keep up with that timing every other Wednesday, join us again for Coach's Corner. Normally there's 3 or 4 of us on here, not 400 like this. And jump on petracoach.com. All of our listings will be on there as well. It's a ton of other information. Hope to see you around. If we can do anything for you, please reach out anytime. Have a great rest of the week.